Hi there, Anna-Lena here. It's been a while, but somehow I seem to get back to doing these videos. And based on my twin flame journey, on this very, very challenging connection. And I'm 6 years now into this connection. So I do have some experience and I do want to share it. So, what I do want to talk about today is my experience from doing this long distance, which means that my twin flame and I have been living in different countries and still are. And when we first met, it was really, really long distance. That means like on the other side of the planet, basically, like and also what this means when it comes to communication, which has basically been via email, because there's a third party involved in this connection. So to sum up, it's been a journey with a lot of experiences, what to do, what not to do, and even what not to do is part of the journey, and it's not wrong. It's just wasn't moving in the right direction, and then you might ask yourself in a journey like that, what is the right direction? You know what I mean? But anyway, it's when we first met, we spent 10 days together, and it was that feeling of coming home. It was just pure bliss, pure happiness. And when I went back home, then I thought, gee, I'm gonna be happy for the rest of my life. Oh wow, yeah. And then I came back, and he stayed on, and I went back to work, and our youngest, he was still living at home, and I just went back to the dog and work and my children, and we were left to communicate via email. And I would have loved the phone calls, I really would have, but he didn't want that, so that did not happen. And when I came home, the pain set in big time. Kundalini awakening, my body, I almost couldn't move my body, and everything just came up. My fear of losing him, and in the midst of that, I was struggling with my pride, like, come on, what's happening? But of course, this, as much as I tried to hide it, probably in the emails, it was an energy there, and that could not be hidden away. I mean, you can't. You try to hide that, but you can't. In a connection like this, it's gonna come up, and he'd withdraw, which would basically just trigger my worst scenario, that the despair, like, good Lord, I'm losing this, this chance of happiness, and coming back to that time together, which was just, it was just pure bliss. So, and then my experience is that you start being very careful what you write. And strangely enough, this person that you have this connection with becomes a stranger in your head, in my head, becomes a stranger. Although that's not really true. But anyway, we kept the email communication going and going, and I was almost from day one searching the internet. What on earth was this? And luckily, I found some really good coaches out there who talked about twin flames, because I knew this was something else. This was not a soulmate connection. It was something else. And about 2 months after we first met, my twin flame, he went to see his family back home, which is only an hour in an airplane and not 24 hours. And that was like, to me, the first, rejection. That he'd go there and he'd stay there for 2 or 3 weeks, and us meeting up was just never on the agenda. And to me, that was like, oh my God, we're 1 hour away from each other. Just seeing each other for a day or two would be just awesome. But it never happened, and he would start to withdraw and withdraw. And I was in a terrible state because my mind was going bonkers, literally, completely. I felt almost insane, and with my pride, I just, I'm not gonna tell anyone. You know what I mean? Anyway, so, and then started the feelings. Let it go. Just let it go. But, the email communication kept going, and I'd wait for an email. I just, desperately wait for a sign. and there were no emotional emails. Whenever, if I did that, there would be just like a rejection right away. Either no comment, or he'd be really honest about being exposed to emotional abuse. So of course I'd mirror that to him. Of course, like he's mirrored every trauma in my life, so have I in his. But this email communication felt like chessmate. It was going nowhere. And in my mind, of course, going somewhere was to live happily ever after together. Yeah. Anyway, that was not going to happen. And as time went by and some hurt was definitely done during this kind of email communication. I mean, a phone call would have made maybe it would even have made it worse, or it would have made a difference. So I was following people on the internet who to me seemed to really know what this was all about. And I would watch it and try to understand it and try to understand it. And in the midst of trying to understand it, I was going through all this pain. But I started to realize at some point that this is about something else. So to make that shift at some point, that although you're hurt by the behavior and by the rejection and the rejection, something else is at stake here. And the more you can stop taking anything of what's happening personally, the better. The more you can understand that both you and your twin flame, you act from a place of hurt within. And really that's what you can use this first phase for, is that is your potential. That true love and happiness and that connection is what you're capable of. So, as I did mention a few times in an email about twin flames, and I'd feel he was simply not there. He would just think, what is she on about? And it made me realize that this connection, this journey might be completely different to the two people involved. One might be going through the shit, the other one might not. And might, stay in a third party situation due to whatever reasons, money, fear, whatever. And as time went by, I realized that so my twin was not going to leave his third party, his wife. I'm not going to go into detail with that because that's not my story. Also important to understand that it's not your story. It becomes your story, but really that is the choice of another human being. And if you want to be sovereign, then respect other people's sovereignty as well. And some of the things that were said during this time just had me thinking, okay, that's it. Time to move on. It's time to move on. And it just continued. But and because it continues, it is also because both of you, somehow you seem to know there is something more. There is something more we should learn from each other. There is something more in this connection. And also really, basically, what do you mean by moving on? Moving on? Oh, yeah, does that mean that you want to meet somebody else? Is that moving on? Because obviously, I don't think that you won't just meet somebody else unless you experience the same kind of heartfelt connection. That is not so easy. When I see some of these Facebook groups and people are just desperate about to date. And maybe it's, if that's correct, then so be it. But I always found that almost impossible to even think of after an experience like this. So as the years passed and we've had sometimes many months break from not communicating, and then we have gotten back into touch, and then I've gone to see him, basically. As the years have passed, and as things have changed, and as the pain has gone, and you've gone through the heart awakening, many of us feeling completely shattered after it, then we've found some of that first magic. And to me, that is probably the best thing that could happen, is that whatever the future brings, I actually think that there are quite a few males at the moment who are having meltdowns. And because quite a few of us, we know what it's like to have these meltdowns. We can come from a place of compassion towards them. So email communication, very challenging in a situation like this. And also because it's such a different way of communicating than the spoken word. The spoken word is so much different. What's written is written. So at some point I became aware of, okay, where am I now, energy-wise, in relation to him? How do I feel about him, about myself right now, and about everything that has happened when writing an email? Does it come from a place of compassion, love, or does it come from the hurt? So becoming aware of where you are right in the moment of writing the email, and really taking a step back and examine, okay, how do you feel about things right now? And this can be of great value to feel that love from within and go from there as much as you can. And at some point I also experienced that he was coming from a place of hurt. In what he'd write to me, I would not respond with my hurt. That is, you're still hurt, but you become so aware of it, and it's not the way forward, at least not when you write to each other via emails. So at some point when we met up, I had a really strong feeling that it would be the last time we met up. And I just made up my mind to say what I had on my mind. And I think I kept him awake for a whole night, and I told him everything. I told him everything. I told him how I felt rejected again and again and again. I told him this pattern. I told him about the hurt. And I never ever once used an accusative you. You did this, you did that. So to keep that I feel this way is very important. Yeah, so I want to move on from that. We still communicate via email and even an occasional phone call every now and then, and it's very nice. So what has happened during all these years? An opening up to how can I put that? I know people use the words 3D and 5D, and but you open up to something inside of you. At least what we've done, we've opened up to being able to feel each other from a distance. We're not together in the physical reality, but we can still feel the other part and what's going on. We can both sense immediately if there's something, and it's almost as if, although we're not together, it's almost as if we're together anyway. Sometimes I can almost see him sit in a chair or lay next to me, and to me, I feel that I have become able to fly, to journey with my soul, or with that part of me which is non-physical, and I can fly around being really goofy and silly, and it's the non-physical part of me that can do this, and I really want to look into this more because I think it's really exciting, and also what comes to me is really that to do some earth healing. It adds up to so many things that has happened before in my life, and also I've had audio the hearing. I've had someone come to me from the other side and talk to me, and as I've had like the visual experience of that before, I've also had that with my hearing. So obviously what this connection is doing is opening up to becoming more and more of a channel, and as I've moved about a lot, and I'm now in a summer house for 3 months, and it has become like this. Okay, I'm here. What is here for me now to heal to look at what does this place want me. So yeah, this journey, I'm sure it will continue to open me and us more and more up to these skills. And both my twin and I, we have something with words, and it's as if a complete new kind of creativity that we're opening up to that. And that is quite awesome. And I'm in the process of writing my next book, and it seems to, and I'm just crossing my fingers this time, oh, come on, please, 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 seems to be going really well. It's a lot of fun. It comes to me, and it's as if this story has now matured enough to be written, and I'll be the channel. Okay, those were the words. Thank you. Have a good day.